Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of January 12th, 2025. If you are an aspiring astrologer or a current astrologer looking to grow your business, you may want to consider my mentorship program through the Organization of Professional Astrology. We begin on February 16th and we meet monthly for 6 months. There is a link in the show notes for you to learn more. On February 23rd, I am presenting a 3-hour lunar planning workshop in Sacramento, California through NCGR. The link for that is also in the show notes, and you can find all my events as well on my website, astrologybyceleste.com. First, let's take a look back at some astrology in action. We had a first quarter moon last week in Aries. And this one was a big one because it was related to and in the same lunar phase family as the solar eclipse of April 8th, 2024 that went across parts of Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, resigned on the first quarter moon to the date. And his natal moon is at 17 Aries, and the first quarter moon was at 16 Aries. So it was very close to his moon. So the Capricorn sun was in his 5th house of self-expression. Capricorn rules governments, big business. It has to do with our work, our legacy, and it squared the moon in Aries in his 8th house. And the 8th house is a house of death and rebirth, and it's opposite his Uranus in his 2nd house of resources. And so he resigned and said that Canada needed a reset, which feels like a rebirth energy. And this has been coming for a while. So it wasn't that surprising, but to the date, we saw this event because first quarter moons are times of action. Also, on the day, or maybe it was the day before, one of the things about the first quarter moon last week was we had Mercury in Sagittarius square Neptune and Pisces. And I warned you, Mercury square Neptune is known for deception. And someone emailed me about where is the bad luck remover report I bought. I do not offer any such service, and they had been scammed, and I let them know. So hopefully they'll get their money back. But please know, I will never slide into your DMs or contact you directly about my services unless you're on my mailing list and you'll get it through my newsletter. So just be aware of that. All services are booked at astrologybyceleste.com. So be very, very careful. We're going to be seeing deception increase with the North Node in Pisces, amplifying that energy of the fog, the mist, illusions and delusions. So just be very careful. Another indication of more deception is that Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta, when the Mercury, the planet of communication, in Sagittarius, the sign of its detriment, at the 29th degree of crisis and decay, announced that Meta was firing all of their fact checkers. They are moving to a Twitter-style model, which is the Wild West, where anyone can say anything pretty much. So, yeah, I don't know how long I will continue to do things on Instagram and Meta products. We shall see what happens, because it could be just so much deception going on, and you don't know who's real or who's a bot or what have you, that I'm not liking that. So I'm probably going to be doing more things on my YouTube channel. So make sure you're following me there as well. And it really is in line with the energy. This happened a couple of days before the South Node went into the sign of Virgo. Virgo is about specifics, it's precise, and the South Node is a drain. Now, this move was poised at something that was going to improve free speech, but what it's going to do is bring a lot of hate speech and trolls and all sorts of stuff to Instagram. The biggest story of last week was the fire in Los Angeles. 100-mile-hour winds were whipping through Los Angeles, and a fire caught hold, and it's just an absolute catastrophe. I am recording this on Wednesday, the 8th, at about 7 p.m., and it is 0% contained. And at this time, there are 4 fires around Los Angeles. On December 6th, Mars stationed to go retrograde on the North Node of the United States natal chart in the unfortunate 8th house of death, rebirth, debt, taxes, and anguish of the mind. You might want to go back and listen to episode 139, Cease and Desist, to listen more deeply to that episode. But Leo rules the special ones like celebrities, and Pacific Palisades has been destroyed. And a big story is that a lot of celebrities lost their homes, as well as other citizens of Los Angeles. It's just a devastating tragedy. At this time, over 30,000 people have been evacuated. At this first quarter moon on January 6th, the moon was conjunct Chiron in Aries, a fire sign. And on that first quarter moon, Mercury in Sagittarius, a fire sign, and Sagittarius is mutable fire. So it's like the candle flicker. It like jumps all over. And it was squaring Neptune at that first quarter moon. And a day later, when Mercury was at the 29th degree of crisis and decay, and the moon was moving to square Mars, on the same day, retrograded back into the sign of Cancer at 29 degrees of Cancer, that last degree of crisis and decay. Mars rules fire. Cancer rules home, family, and foundations. Mercury rules the wind, and one of the reasons this fire has been so dangerous and spread so quickly is because there's been 100-mile-hour winds in LA, which is really unusual. It hasn't happened for over 10 years. So far, this is the most catastrophic fire LA has ever experienced, and it's January, which is also adds to it being unusual. And Neptune, you can think of Neptune, this water sign, but it just spreads everything quickly. So Mercury squaring Neptune and it's separating from Neptune, but still carrying that energy of disseminating and then getting to that degree of crisis and decay. It all is right there in the astrology, and it happening in LA, a place that's the entertainment capital of the world, where a lot of Leonic figures who are entertainers live. So it didn't start until Mars retrograded back into Cancer, but the event was seated, or you can see it in the retrograde station looking at the United States chart. And as I said earlier, Mars stationed to go retrograde on the North Node in the 8th house of the United States. And the 8th house is very unfortunate, and the North Node is an amplifier. So this catastrophic event due to fire impacting the country is not surprising at all. Your cosmic advantage begins with the Wise Skies digital calendar. With descriptions for every planetary and lunar event, all levels of astrology enthusiasts can enjoy the calendar on any device and now in many languages. With this superpower in your back pocket, you will be fully equipped to understand the astrological weather any day of the week. My good friend and collaborator, Tiffany Herlick, creates this calendar every year, and I use it daily. I highly recommend it. Use my coupon code for $10 off. The code is ABC2024 or ABC2025, depending on the year. Let the universe have your back with the Wise Skies digital astrology calendar. The theme of this week is payback, and there are 3 big things I want you to think about as you navigate this week. The first is that we're going to be having the peak of a lunar standstill. This is an astronomical phenomenon. It happens when the moon is at its maximum declination of where it appears above or below the equator relative to the Earth. And in mundane astrology, the moon rules the people. So a lunar standstill has me thinking, what are the people standing still and looking at? Well, we know part of the story is Los Angeles, but it also is associated with tidal phenomena. And we've been seeing these tidal waves and tsunamis all over the Earth. There was some kind of tsunami in Greenland, I believe, in Chile, and in Santa Cruz, California, a pier was washed away. So just be extremely careful on the beach throughout the month of January while this phenomenon is at its peak. There's also a planetary lineup in the sky that is at its maximum around January 25th, where we have Venus in Pisces, Mars retrograde in Cancer, Jupiter in Gemini, and Saturn in Pisces, all visible, lined up in a row. And Venus and Mars are the planets of war and peace, and Jupiter and Saturn are related to the social planets. I'm just getting with this energy. It's like the gods are watching what human beings have done to the earth, to each other, and they're just not pleased, is what I intuit from this. If you get a chance and you're out at night, take a look at the sky. There's a lot of apps like Sky Guide that can help you discern which of the planets is which. Seeing the benefics and the malefics, Venus and Jupiter are the benefics, and Mars and Saturn are the malefics in the sky. It's really interesting. It's something, and last week's podcast was called The Clash of the Titans. And that really is representative of that energy. So I don't know if something has happened last week, if there's been a surprise reversal or something, or has come out of seemingly nowhere, but has been foretold by the astrology. If so, I'll let you know then, and we'll talk about it next time. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that tomorrow we'll have a full moon in Cancer. Full moons are times of illumination. The sun and the moon are as far apart as they can be. The sun is the conscious mind, the moon is a subconscious mind. And at this full moon, with the sun in Capricorn and earth sign around work and legacy, and the moon in Cancer about emotions and home, there can be like a tug of war about where you came from, where you're going, responsibilities at home versus responsibilities at work, acting like a baby versus adulting. These are some of the themes that can be coming up. The moon is at home in the sign of Cancer, where it can do what it does with ease, which is feel and emote and seek security and find comfort and nurturing. Cancer is also a very sensitive sign, which can be needy and grasping, or when feelings are hurt, go in its shell, and it's the crab, go in its shell and just get silent, or feel like the victim, get into victim mentality or guilt tripping of other people. The moon is conjunct Mars retrograde in Cancer at the full moon. So there's something uncomfortable about it. It's a really good time to use your breath to calm your energy down, do body scans, take baths, drink water, do whatever you can to nurture yourself. You may find yourself desiring comfort foods from your childhood and things like that. So just notice what's going on within you. I have felt unsettled since the new moon. The energy right now is so intense. So if, people around you, your loved ones or colleagues are a little on edge, irritable, causing a little bit of conflict, just be aware. It really is in the energy. And this full moon is so intense. We have this lunar standstill, the planetary lineup. Mars retrograde is trine Neptune in Pisces the day before. Mars in a water sign trine Neptune in Pisces really feels like there is this tidal wave of emotions, and we may be talking about, more of these disturbances near beaches. Like staying away from beaches is really a good idea for the next week or so, I think. Till the end of the month, I would be, or just being uber careful around the beaches, because it's like the sneaker waves energy. And the sun in Capricorn is trine Uranus retrograde. And there can be surprises, reversals, shocks, and awe related to Capricornian topics like governments and big business. Well, the J.P. Morgan Healthcare Conference happens every January in San Francisco, and it starts officially on January 13th, which is tomorrow, which is the day of the full moon. Uranus is the revolutionary. Of course, people there will be talking about Luigi Mangione, who assassinated the CEO of United Healthcare. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of protest or some kind of upheaval in San Francisco related to the, abuses of healthcare companies charging so much money for healthcare, the insurance companies not paying back people. That's where I get payback from, not paying back people for their health expenses, or pushing people who are sick to be arguing over whether something should be covered or not covered. Now, this is more associated with the investment community and the companies doing research or making the drugs, but it's such a big event for this healthcare industry. I've been there many times to this event. I used to work in biotech, and I've been at least 3 or 4 times to this event, and it's a madhouse where there's so many people, and it just may be the people attending or being short-tempered with each other and, bumping into each other and saying sharp things. But with the sun trine Uranus and Mars retrograde trine Neptune, it feels like temperatures are hot. Energy is boiling. There's a full moon conjunct Mars. Everyone everywhere should be aware of this, but there might be some stories from the event that make news, is quite possible. Because the sun is at 23 Capricorn, it's pretty close to a world point in the moon as well. 22 and a half of the cardinal signs are world points, so it's a little away from that. So we'll see if anything makes news about the conference. The moon phase family for this event started back in 2023 on July 17th, where the sun and the moon were both at 24 Cancer. So what was initiated in your life around that time, if anything? The first quarter moon was April 15th of 2024, where the sun was in Aries, the moon was in Cancer, and they were both at 26 degrees. First quarter moons are times of action. You can think about maybe there was some kind of course correction of something that was seeded. Was during this first quarter moon that the Gaza protests on college campuses began. So there may be some story related to those protests. The full moon is tomorrow. The sun is in Capricorn. The moon is in Cancer, both at 23 degrees, January 13th, 2025. And the last quarter moon, the sun is in Libra. The moon is in Cancer on October 13th of 2025. They're both at 20 degrees. So if you have planets or important points like angles right around 20 to 26 Cancer or the cardinal signs, there may be a story in your life that you can relate this to. But at this full moon, we're on the axis of legacy, is what I like to call it. Cancer speaks to where we came from, and Capricorn, where we're going, our legacy, the highest we can achieve. Cancer is the natural ruler of the fourth house of home, family, and foundations. And Capricorn is the natural ruler of governments, big business, older people. And this is the full moon that the inauguration is under. We can think about the moon conjunct Mars. There'll be a lot of talk about home security, immigration, keeping people out. There's going to be a lot of tribalism or nativistic talk with this full moon, likely around the world. The sun in Capricorn, the tarot card that corresponds to this is the Four of Pentacles. This is a card related to hoarding or one's resources or holding on to type. Also, it's like a man holding on to a coin, and it's like he's holding it so tight. He doesn't want anyone else to get it. There's something related to greed around this card. And the Sabian symbol is a woman entering a convent. It can be about swearing off society or relationships or forging some kind of new identity. The moon at 23 Cancer relates to the Four of Cups. This is a card of apathy, or I like to think about it as discernment. Someone has 3 cups already, and someone's trying to handle a 4th cup, and they're not interested because they already have enough. And the Sabian symbol is a woman and 2 men cast away on a small island. This gives images of like a lack of privacy, entrapment, or being stuck in an isolated place. I wrote down witness protection. You're bored and stuck in a room with two officers. You can think about there are probably some people who evacuated from LA and are staying with friends and relatives where perhaps they're not completely uncomfortable. There may be a story that shows up around these two tarot cards. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that we're going to be having the first of 3 Venus-Saturn conjunctions on Saturday, January 18th. Venus is the planet of love, beauty, and harmony. It's exalted in the sign of Pisces, where it is lifted up and can do what it does with ease. And Saturn is a bit miserly. It's limiting and constrictive. But Saturn rules commitment. It can be a time for you to really think about what are you committed to in your relationships, about finances. There may be a story coming up around that. There can be feelings of Saturn can reject and exclude. There can be some feelings around that. Something about a party pooper. Now, Saturn delays. I am wondering, Venus is going to go retrograde, and Venus rules parties March 1st through April 15th. I'm wondering if some of the Hollywood events like the Oscars are going to be delayed. They're industry parties, so they relate to commerce. And Venus and Mercury are going to be retrograde at the same time. And so I'm wondering if there will be something related to these events being delayed because of the LA fires. On January 18th, they meet at 16 Pisces, and they're both direct. On April 7th, Venus is retrograde and Saturn's direct, and they meet at 25 Pisces. And on April 24th, they're both direct again, and they meet at 27 Pisces. So if you have planets or placements between 16 Pisces and 27 Pisces, there's going to be a story in your life. And actually, Venus goes retrograde in Aries. So that starts the retrograde around 9 Aries. So that whole part of your chart, 9 Aries to 25 Pisces, there's going to be a story in your life where there is potentially 3 parts, an opening, review of something, and then a closing act. So think about boundaries, limits, rejection or exclusion in love and material and money limitations. When they meet, I'm always like deciding to get rid of some kind of service or reduce expenditures in some way is typically how it shows up in my life. But it also can be about you feel like slightly slighted or something. But it's a good time to think about what are you committed to. If you are embarking on a new journey, experiencing a major life event, feeling stuck, trying to make a difficult decision, or just looking to make positive changes, astrology can provide life-changing insights. There are several ways to work with me. You can come for a 60 or 90-minute astrology consultation depending on your needs. Engage in longer-term cosmic success coaching where we work together on a 3-month basis to help you overcome blocks, improve your life satisfaction, build better relationships, accomplish your career goals, and understand yourself better using the tool of astrology. Or mystic mentoring if you're an aspiring astrologer and want help with chart analysis techniques. Go to astrologybyceleste.com to check out my offerings. If you have any questions, you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is martyr. We start the day with a Cancer moon. Cancer is a sign of family and home and a homelands. So with Mars retrograde in Cancer, trine Neptune in Pisces, you may hear people being, or you yourself feel very nostalgic about childhood stuff. or your relationship with your mother. And Neptune can make it like you kind of put a gloss on it somehow, maybe rose-colored glasses. Now, there can be deception, cheating, sexual secrets revealed. There can be big water issues as anything is leaking in your house. Get it fixed. Now, people may be literally wanting to or willing to engage in being a martyr. So engaging in conflict or violence for a belief system. So that can be something that we see showing up. On Monday, the word of the day is protest. This is the day we have the Capricorn Sun trine Uranus and Taurus. They're both at 23 degrees of their respective signs. A leader may tell you there's something about a reversal or something surprising. There's the full moon on this day at 2:26 p.m. Full moons are times of illumination with all is revealed. And you may have something internal, like notice if you feel something in your stomach. The moon rules the stomach. And the sign of Cancer is associated with the stomach, where you hear something surprising and does it make you excited? It's a trine, so trines can be sometimes there can be something positive and exciting. You find out, maybe you're getting a raise, but you have more responsibilities. This is a day the moon and Mars meet, so be careful about what you're eating so that you don't get any kind of stomach upset. There could be protests. Uranus is the sign of the revolutionary, the protester. Strikes may be something that comes up. On Tuesday, the word of the day is spectacle. The Leo moon is at 1:11 a.m. Pacific time. I love a Leo moon. It's fiery and feisty. People may be extra dramatic. Venus in Pisces is square Jupiter in Gemini on this day, and this is at 11 degrees of their respective signs. Venus square Jupiter can be really overindulgent. So maybe the spectacle is some people get really maybe like really out of hand or really overindulging in substances. Because on this day, Venus is sesqui-square Mars retrograde in Cancer. And I wrote down cut from the club, like some executives come to San Francisco and get out of hand and get kicked out of a strip club or something could be how this shows up because they make a spectacle of themselves. Pleasure seeking. Venus square Jupiter can be like seeking pleasure to such an excess extent, it's a problem. On Wednesday, the word of the day is brawny. The sun in Capricorn is opposite Mars retrograde in Cancer, both at 26 degrees of their respective signs. And then the moon is going to square Uranus. So this could be someone at a gym is really like challenging themselves and competing with themselves. Mars competes and challenges. And they're thinking of, I want to lift heavier than I've ever done before. Just be careful if you're doing something energetic like that, because with Mars retrograde, there's more of a risk of injury. And with this, I'm getting like people pushing something over their chest because Cancer is associated with the breasts and, like pulling a muscle in your chest. So just be careful about that. Now, the sun opposite Mars could be like telling your boss, the Capricorn sun, to take this job and shove it. Like there's energy for conflict with this opposition. And the full moon we just had. Full moons are heightened emotionally. So there's energy of conflict. So just be aware of that. On Thursday, the word of the day is unrealistic. Mercury in Capricorn is quincunx, Jupiter in Gemini. Quincunxes move us into new situations where we have to release and let go of something. Mercury is the planet of communication, and it has to do with commerce. And Jupiter makes everything bigger. Some people might get their budgets for the year, and they're like their financial budgets, and they're so big, it's like, oh my God, it just feels so unrealistic. And the moon enters Virgo at 8:45 a.m. Pacific time. Virgo is a health sign. This is the first time the moon is going into Virgo since the South Node went into Virgo. There may be news about health matters or all these things going around, like norovirus and the flu. So people could be sick or anxious or nervous about something. That's what I'm getting the feeling of, or talking about something that, doesn't feel great. And Virgo counts. Virgo has held people accountable. So there could be some conflict between people and their supervisors or their bosses as they receive their goals for 2025. On Friday, the word of the day is dreamy. The sun in Capricorn is sextile Neptune and Pisces. They're both at 27 degrees. This could be a very creative energy. Or you could kind of, with the moon in Virgo, let yourself get so worried about your budget that, oh my goodness, how am I going to achieve this goal? Who knows? Just try not to let yourself get carried away with what it could be. The disseminating moon at 12 Virgos at 9:35 a.m. Pacific time. Disseminating moons are releasing. It's time to share what you've learned about something. Like maybe you've learned some new remedy where you put honey and a little sugar or something in some kind of recipe, and that's the greatest thing to help prevent you getting this year's flu or something. On Saturday, the word of the day is lovelorn. The sun in Capricorn is trine the South Node in Pisces. They're both at 29 degrees of their respective signs. So what is going down? Like this could be a leader like resigning or giving a goodbye speech or something like that. Venus and Saturn meet at 16 Pisces. It's the last day of Capricorn season. Like this could be a day where Biden gives his goodbye address or something like that, or maybe something better than that. We'll see what happens. I'm holding out hope for a miracle until Martin Luther King's birthday. That's just is what it is, but that's just me and what I'm hoping for. So anyway, but yeah, there could be feelings of loss about having a stable leader. Could be something that people are thinking, because there is so much chaos that's already started in the United States over the incoming administration, and talking about maybe going to war with Greenland and Canada and the Panama for the canal. It's just a lot. That's a lot for people to deal with emotionally. So we'll see what happens. That's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology and action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.